we've got a bucket of hot soapy laundry detergent because it tends to rinse well in cold water as well. A abrasive gray Scotch-Brite pad, and we're going to scrub everything off really well, get the mildew off, the dirt, and then check it all out. Put some gloves on because this has a lot of fibers that are sticking up, and last thing I do is work a bunch of fibers in my skin when I'm doing this. Okay, we'll let that dry, see what's left to do after that. You can obviously see that a lot of this isn't dirt. It's just the gel coat that's worn off in places, and so it's not going to scrub out, of course. But we'll give it one more wash with probably some simple green, and then the rinse. And we'll do a quick solvent wipe, and then we'll do some scuffing and sanding on some of the spots that we've got. Particularly back here, there's some kind of deep scratches from hitting different things, I imagine, over the years. And then once that's all done, we'll get it prepped for a primer. Now we're going to sand off some of these edges where the seals are, some of the rough spots that we've got on here. I'm going to give it an overall skin. We've got some 220 grit. Don't want to lose the texture that's on there, which I like. Let's kind of give it something to bond to a bit, and we'll do a salt and wipe after that. So I rinsed it off after the sand, and what you generally want to see after rinsing something is the water to kind of sheet up where there's no beading, there's nothing else. It just forms a big sheet. Makes it pretty clean. So there's the crack. The idea is I'm going to drill a little tiny hole into these three little, which I don't probably need to, but I'm going to do just, not all the way through, just a little bit to radius that was off. Drill a hole there to stop that crack, and then grind this out with the Dremel, give a little bit of a V shape. Same with these here a bit, and then clean it up and fill it with epoxy, and we should be good to go. It's probably pretty good. That's past the crack. So got my mask on, my Dremel. I'm going to V-shape that a little bit. That looks pretty good. It's about a quarter of the way through, I think, on there. It's not really anything crazy structural, so Just want to keep it from propagating a bit more, so it should be good. We're going to clean it up with some acetone a little bit. It's a light bit because I don't want that to mess with the gel coat. Let that dry and we'll put some epoxy in there. Okay, fun. Really good at work in there. Not gonna take a lot. Luckily, most of this will be hidden by the sunroof seal, the skylight seal, so. Okay. Good luck wiping any of this off. Okay, it's not too bad. We'll let that sit overnight and sand the rest off nice and smooth, and never know it was there. Okay, so we've got our little mini brush we're going to use to start. We've got a foam roller. We've cleaned both of these off before. Make sure there's no particles around. Leave that over there for now. Well, we'll see how this goes. Brushing this little stuff. Stuff's pretty thin. A little thinner than I thought it might be. It goes on thicker than I thought, though. We're going to brush the insides here, at least on the first coat here, to kind of work that primer down into those little kind of pits, I guess. And then the second coat of primer will probably do a lot more of the rolling than we are in this first coat. Stuff feels pretty thin, but once it goes on, it seems to tack really quickly. I don't know if it's just that this fiberglass is so old and weathered that it's really sucking it up and it gets dry quickly, or if it's flashing quickly. But it's definitely not like painting latex paint by any means. It doesn't have that smooth, I guess, stroke after you lay it on there. And it's not terribly warm in here either. This, I don't know, warm day, this might be even tougher. You see why they say don't do this in the sunshine, because it would be hard to keep a wet edge. Yeah, and the areas where there's more of the gel coat left definitely goes on smoother. I think it's just those open, dry fibers and sucking it up and just drying it out quickly. So this is the primer I'm using. It goes with the Interlux top coat. I'm using the Brightside Polyurethane paint. So I've got the white covering pretty well so far. I'm going to start putting some primer on the top. We're just going to start with the roller and roll on some really thin coats. I don't think this is going to suck it up like the other one did. We'll find out. Definitely a lot brighter than the old top was. Not going to match the van perfectly, but that's okay. Okay, I'll probably need to grab the brush real quick and get inside those little pieces, or those little around the sunroof there. Keep on the sunroof, the skylight. This definitely goes on a lot better than the luggage rack. Not sucking it up as much. It's easier to spread over a long distance. Probably start working from the back and forth. I want to keep that wet edge there. I can roll the edge off here a little bit and keep it thin and blend that pretty well. I'm sure how well this stuff comes back together. So we'll just keep it on the, try to keep the edges, and where there's a sharp drop off, we'll use that as a stopping point so you can blend a little better. So we're almost done with the first coat. Primer all the way. I'm not sure the top here is any of the second coat of primer. It's covered really, really well. The luggage rack for sure will. It's not looking as good as it's drying. It's just sucked up a lot of that primer. It looks a little bit chunky. So we'll have to, once this dries, it says it takes up to 16 hours at 50 degrees, which I think I can keep this kill room here at maybe 60 during the day. Overnight I'm probably not going to be able to heat it, so it's just going to have to get down to temperature. I'll probably get 40 out here or so. So that puts us at sometime tomorrow afternoon that we can sand and then put a second coat on the luggage rack. And of course we'll look at this one too to see if it needs a second. I just don't think it's going to. It's laying down a lot smoother overall. So hopefully by maybe 24 hours from now we can start to put the first coat of actual the top coat on. Give that a couple of days to cure up before we even think about trying to put the tent on, which is definitely our next step. It's funny how this whole project started with just wanting to get a new tent, but I like to group things together if I can, and be like, well, the tent, if I put the tent on, it'd be easier to take the whole top off to do. Not necessary, but I think easier in some ways to inspect everything. If the top is going to come off, I might as well refinish it. I'm doing that, I might as well replace the skylight, which has been leaking. It's pretty warped. So just do all these things at one time. So it'll be good when we're done. I want to do this for a long time. Okay, there's the roll. Nice, super light brush strokes just to knock those bubbles off a bit. And there's a little hair in there we'll have to get out. Sec. No, I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Okay, pretty good. You can definitely tell that I put 2 coats of primer on the luggage rack. It covered way better with the paint. This will definitely need 2 coats. That was in such poor shape I didn't have much of a choice. I had to prime it twice. Probably could have done this one twice too, but I figured I had plenty of paint to do 2 coats of paint on this. So, right or wrong, that's what I did. We'll see if it works out for me. Kind of staying back from the edge a little bit because I want to be able to roll that over in the second, so there's not that, because I'm not going to keep a wet edge right here very well. I'll be able to have that edge up top just in case something's different. You won't be able to see it from the sides. Well, I think that does it for the first coat. Pretty happy with it. Definitely see some spots on here that I have to go over again. 2 coats of primer probably would have solved that, but I think I'd rather have 1 coat of primer and 2 coats of top coat on here, really. I guess I could have 2 and 2, but either way, a quart of each, a quart of primer and a quart of top coat, for me was plenty. I still have probably 2/3 of the can left for the second coat, which should go on even thinner than the first. So I think it's 70, 80 bucks or so for this stuff through Amazon. I'll put a link in the description to what I bought. For less than 100 bucks and a couple of days of the work, you can have a almost new looking top again. So we'll check back in here in a couple hours. Let this tack up. I think it says 3 hours at 60 degrees. It should be ready for a second coat. We'll see. I'm in no hurry. If we do it tomorrow, we do it tomorrow. But it looks pretty good.